Hi, Year 12 and 13. Welcome to instructions in how to close read in sociology. It's generally geared towards your Year 12 students, but the sort of skills we're going to learn in this lecture are applicable to the independent work that Year 13 will also be doing this year. A basic definition of close reading is figuring out what the text is trying to tell you, or what the main points of the text are. Now, I don't know about you, but sometimes if I'm reading a complicated bit of text, textbooks or articles even, they can be pretty difficult to understand, and they can also appear to be a little boring, especially if they're maybe a few pages long. So close reading can really help. It does mean reading a text and rereading it, but in order to do it, if you do that, you achieve deeper meaning and understanding, which means you should be able to apply the ideas from the information you've read. This is going to form a key part of your independent work this year in your independent study hour. Okay, so this technique is something I'm going to be asking to check every couple of weeks from you. Here are the main close reading symbols we're going to use this year. If we talk about it in lesson and decide we need another symbol for a different aspect of sociology, we can develop that as we go on. They are fairly self-explanatory. Okay, so I'll give you a few seconds just to read through those. I'll nudge it up a little bit to make sure you can all see the bottom. Okay, so just to make sure you're very clear about what I mean by all these different symbols and how to actually close read, I'll run through it very quickly with you, but I don't mean to be patronising. So the key thing is to read every article twice. And in the first reading, it really is just focusing on comprehending what the article's trying to tell you and to try and achieve, if you like, basic understanding and knowledge, okay, which is about your AO1 skills, which we'll talk about in class. So the first reading, underline keywords that you identify and any ideas that you think are key, and circle any of the studies mentioned or the bits of research that you come across, because that's really good evidence to use to back up some of your points. The second reading is where you really kind of delve into the deep meaning and try to interpret the article and add your own annotations, if you like. So if you read an idea or on a point and you think, actually, I really, really like that point, I think it's really, really important, I want to raise it in class, put a star next to it and maybe a little annotation why you think that is. I've already mentioned number 3, so ignore that. I'll have to get rid of it somehow. Then I want you to start thinking about your AO2 skills. So as you go through and when you're thinking about key ideas and deeper meaning, start thinking about your AO2 skills of evaluation. So this is when you read something that you really strongly agree with, give a little plus. Or actually, if you disagree with something that's written, so say maybe you read an article about lone parents bringing up their kids, and the article tries to argue that lone parents can't give a balanced upbringing, you might put a minus in the margin, and you could say why you disagree with that, and maybe you could think of some evidence that maybe someone else has mentioned to say why you would disagree. AO3, which is the old part of AO2, any year 13s who are listening. This is where you try and demonstrate how you can apply what you're reading or link what you're reading to any ideas that we've been studying in class. So whether you think, oh, that's good evidence to support this sociologist, or actually that's very like a Marxist point of view, you make that sort of figure of 8 on its side and you annotate what it actually links to so we can talk about it in class. Finally, there's always going to be aspects of an article that maybe you don't quite get, or you think, I don't really understand what they mean, or even some words you don't even understand what they mean. Put a big question mark next to them, and we can go through that in class together. But try and prepare your questions. So if you don't just say, oh, I don't get it, try and prepare the question, like, what is it you really don't understand about that part of the text, okay? So what I thought we'd do in the next slide is try and model what this will look like on quite a piece of text from Sociology Review, because I'm sure I've mentioned this in class to you, you were doing your independent study using predominantly Sociology Review. So this is an extract from an article that we're going to be looking at in class year 12. If I read through it with you once, and what I'm going to try and do for the first time is edit while I'm talking to you, just underlining any key ideas and circling any evidence as we go along. So both equal access to education and equal opportunities to succeed at school are very important issues on the policy agenda for sociologists. One reason is that education is a key determinant of future earnings. Gender differences in educational attainment have been a major concern in England. This is always emphasised by the media each year after GCSE results have come out. So what I'm going to do is underline that, the media part of that, because I think that's quite important for sociology, because the media is part of what the big structures in society. As shown in figure 1, girls have been doing better than boys in exams at school, and this attainment gap has been evident and persistent since the late 1980s. For instance, in 2011, the proportion of girls attaining the minimum government requirement of at least 5 A stars to C was 83, compared with only 76 of boys. And that's a wee bit of research there. So what I'm going to do is try and circle it, because that's good evidence. Nature or nurture? Gender differences in any life domain are ascribed to factors related to either nature or nurture, or a combination of both. I'm going to underline ascribed factors. Sorry, it's not underlining, there we go. Either nature or nurture, or a combination of both, because I think that idea is quite important. According to the nature argument, differences between males and females are biologically determined, innate, and time invariant. So I'm going to underline difference between males and females are biological, and as such, these will always persist. On the other hand, the nurture argument claims that it's the environment, like family institutions in which individuals live, that creates gender differences. So I'm just going to underline that, because I think that's a key summary of the opposite argument to nature. Social sciences and researchers are committed to understanding the extent to which these theoretical frameworks can explain the gaps in social and economic outcomes related to differences in educational achievement, but you can't see that bit. So that was my first reading. So what I've done is I've circled a bit of research and underlined points that I think are quite important. Just looking at it, maybe I've underlined a bit too much, but, it doesn't matter. So this second reading, I'm going to be looking at some of the different things. So I'm going to be looking at links, ideas that I think are important. I'm going to put some question marks if I don't understand it, and I'm going to say whether I agree or disagree with this point. So let's try again. Both equal access to education and equal opportunities to succeed at school are very important issues in the policy agenda for sociologists. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to put a question mark there, because I might not be sure what I mean by what policy agenda is. Or you might not be if you read it, I guess. One reason is that education is a key determinant of future earnings. Now, I might link that, so I'm going to try and do that squiggly 8 on here without making it a complete mess of it, because I know that's to do with social class. Okay? Gender differences in educational attainment have become a major concern in England, and this is always emphasised in the media each year. I'm going to do a little question mark there, because I'm not too sure what attainment might mean. So sorry about the squiggliness of this. I'm sure you'll do this much more neatly. As shown in figure 1, girls have been doing better than boys in exams in schools, and this attainment gap has been evident and consistent since the late 1980s. For instance, in 2011, the proportion of girls attaining the minimum government requirement for at least 5 A-stars GCSEs at A-star to C was 83, compared with only 76 of boys. Nature or nurture? Gender differences in any life domain, I'm going to do a question mark there, because I'm like, what's a life domain? This is a weird concept. Are ascribed to factors related to either nature or nurture, or a combination of both. So I'm going to do a star here, really bad star, sorry, because I think that's a really important argument and a debate to get into. According to the nature argument, differences between males and females are biologically determined and time invariant, and they do not change over time. I'm going to do a minus there, because I do not agree. I can't fit that on there, but I would disagree, because I would say, actually, we are socialised into our gender differences rather than that being born with our gender differences, and I might use a feminist argument to back that up. On the other hand, the nurture argument claims it's the environment, i.e. family institutions like school and society, which individuals live in, that create gender differences. Now, I agree with that one, so I'm going to do a plus there. Okay, so hopefully that gives you an idea of how you should annotate this. What I haven't done too much of that I really want to see you guys do is maybe actually do some written notes around the articles that you're going to be reading. Okay, so finally, I want you to have a go. Year 12, I want you to use your student login to print the whole article. You'll need to go to that web link, and I've given you that in a hard copy, and I'll email you all this as well. There's your username, password, and centre ID. And there's two ways of finding this article. The easy one would be in the search bar at the very top of the first page you get to when you log in. You type in education gender gap without the speech marks, and you look for the one from 24th of April, you look for the one from volume 24, April 2015, okay? If that doesn't come up, a simpler way to do it is you need to scan down to the magazine archive, which is at the bottom of that first in log on page. It's a red one. And then you scan down again of that next page, of the magazine page. When you get into the magazine archive, you should see some other subjects, but they'll be grey, apart from maybe law and psychology, which should be pink. And once you click on sociology, which is at the very bottom, you select volume 24, then April 2015, the issue, and then find the article, The Education Gender Gap. I would like you to please print it and bring it along to class, and we will read through it together, because one of the points of flipped learning is you do the homework in class and you do the classwork at home. Okay, thank you very much for listening. I hope you find this useful.